Okay, now that we're sure that we're set up the right way, let's talk about arm vibrato. If you're not sure whether you're an arm vibrato person or a wrist vibrato person, you can either come in and ask me, or you can watch both videos and try both exercises and see which one feels more comfortable for you. It doesn't matter whether you're arm or wrist. You just have to make sure that you pick one and you practice that one all the time. Arm vibrato people, let's check our posture. Make sure you can hold your instrument correctly. Okay, and then you're going to take your left hand and I want you to make all of your fingers fall asleep. Keep everything really relaxed. If you start getting tense, you need to stop and take a break because tension ruins vibrato. The first exercise we're going to do is way up high on our instrument so that our palm is touching the shoulder of the instrument right here. So just take your palm and put it up against the shoulder. Your thumb is going to be right about there. Just relaxed. Then I want you to pick a finger. I would start with my second finger is my favorite. Maybe third finger will be favorite for you. First and fourth finger are a little bit hard to start with on vibrato, so try one of your middle fingers first. Take that finger and curl it up so that it's touching the very edge of your instrument right here on this black line. Your wrist should be completely straight. Your palm should be touching and your fingers should be really curled because you're right on the fingertip. If your finger looks like this, make sure you bring it back towards the edge of the instrument. The whole way that arm vibrato works is that our arm pulls our finger so that we roll back on our finger and our arm pushes it back. So the only joint that is working here other than our fingers is our elbow. Our arm is going to pull away and come back. And you notice that my wrist isn't moving. Arm and wrist vibrato are exact opposites because different joints do different actions. Okay, so the first thing you're going to try to do, you got your finger all curled up. I want you to pull your hand away so that your finger flattens out a little bit and then push your hand back. And you're going to feel your palm come away from the shoulder of the instrument. See how there's a space in there? And then come back. And if you have a hard time even getting that, do this. Let go with your fingers and just pull your arm away and come back. That's the basic motion we need. Then you can curl your finger back and see if you can get it to roll. Let's get a close-up of what's happening with my finger. When I pull it away, I roll on the tip of my finger and I come back. If you see your wrist bending at all, you need to stop if you're an arm person and get it to not bend. Once you feel like you can do this pretty comfortably on at least 2 fingers, then you can go on to step 2. Step 2, we're going to take this from where we are on the shoulder and just move our finger over so that we're in between the D and the A string on the fingerboard. Don't try pushing down a string yet, it's going to create too much tension in your hand. I'm touching my finger down to the fingerboard. I still have my palm touching here. I still have my thumb in the same spot on the side. And we're going to try the same motion. You're just going to pull away and then back. And go back and forth until you feel comfortable with this. When I pull away, my finger still flattens out a little bit and I roll back on my fingertip and then I come back. You want to make sure that you can try this on at least 2 fingers. Second finger and third finger are probably the easiest. Okay, when you're done with this, you feel pretty comfortable, you're ready for step 3. Step 3 is to just move our hand a little bit further away from the shoulder of the instrument. Eventually we're not going to have anything as a reference point, we're not going to have anything to tap our palm against. But for now, we're going to take 2 fingers in our bow hand and put them right against the shoulder here to make sort of a spacer. And we're going to put our palm against those fingers. Your thumb will now be on the side of the neck of the instrument, and you will have a space here. If you don't have a space, make sure that you move your hand so your knuckle isn't touching. Then you're going to put your finger down. Same thing, don't try to push down a string, just make it touch the fingerboard in between 2 strings. Then you're going to pull your hand away and back. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm only using one finger at a time. And when we do this on the string for real, you're still only going to use one finger at a time. That's why it's super important that you can play in tune already. We used having all of our fingers down at once as sort of spacers to tell us if we were in tune, but you can't vibrato more than one finger at once. Back and forth. Practice that until you're really comfortable with second and third finger. Maybe try first finger. And if you're really brave, try fourth finger, but that one's hard to get at first. Then once you feel comfortable with this, you're ready for step 4. Step 4 is to get really comfortable without having our palm resting against anything. So all you're going to do is just take your fingers away, and you're going to get used to going back and forth. Check yourself, make sure your wrist isn't bending. Make sure that your fingers are moving parallel to the fingerboard, not side to side. Make sure that you're not touching right here. There should be a space. And make sure you're rolling on your fingertip. Then once you can do this, you can try pushing down a string. Be careful, you don't have to push your strings down as hard as you think you do. You can get that string to touch the fingerboard with very little pressure. We have pretty light strings on our violin, and they're not too bad on a viola either. So see how lightly you can push them down before it touches the fingerboard. If you squeeze too hard, then you'll get rid of that space in there, and you won't be able to get your finger to move, no matter how much work your arm does. So just practice going back and forth. When you feel comfortable with this, it's time to start adding bow. If you can't seem to get this motion down, you might try wrist vibrato, or there's one more thing that you can do to sort of trick your hand into doing vibrato. We're going to try sliding up and down the fingerboard. So just take your fingers, keep them relaxed, and put one finger down on a string. Try your D or your A, or if you're viola, you can try your G. And just slide back and forth. Keep your wrist straight. Make sure that you still have a space in there. Notice how our elbow is doing the vibrato motion. Okay, then you're going to make your slides smaller. And then make them really small. And then glue your thumb down so just your finger is sliding. Your arm is still moving. And then glue your fingertip down so the only thing is moving is your arm is now moving your finger. And you can try that on all of your fingers, your third finger. You can try that with your first finger. Okay, if you feel really comfortable with that, we can start adding bow. Adding bow and vibrato, it gets a little bit tricky because we're moving our left hand a lot faster than we're moving our bow. So what we're going to do is practice air bowing first. So I want you to get your vibrato motion going. If you still feel more comfortable up here, that's okay. Pick a place where you can do vibrato really comfortably and on a long-term basis. Like you should be able to hold this, do your vibrato for like a full minute before you try adding the bow to it. And then all we're going to do is try air bowing. See how smoothly my bow is moving? A lot of people when they first try to do vibrato get this kind of thing. And their bow is moving really fast. So practice until you can get your bow to move really slowly and your fingers to move pretty quickly. You also should make sure that your bow is moving smoothly, not jerking up and down. Then when you feel comfortable with that, you can try adding real bow with fingers. Don't try your vibrato quickly. Just nice slow vibrato. And if you practice that every single day, you'll be a vibrato champion in no time.